Springfield's Public Works Department, which does road and stormwater improvements, unveiled its proposed list of projects over the next 5 years. That list is based on community feedback. Joe Hickman has more on those public preferences.
The Public Works Department presentation took place at the Springfield City Council luncheon, where members were told that 2 of the 4 highest priorities in the latest citizen satisfaction survey had to do with their department, maintaining city streets and infrastructure and the overall flow of traffic. And then in presenting what projects should be done with the voter-approved 1/8 cent transportation and 1/4 cent capital improvement taxes, they relied heavily on public feedback that Zone 1 Council member Monica Horton echoed and what she's been hearing from her constituents.
And that was fix the streets, stop the flooding, and improve property values.
Public Works, though, pointed out that to maintain all those programs at the level the public would like, it would create a $24 million deficit.
The cost to maintain infrastructure has continued to go up significantly, especially since the pandemic. It's gone up dramatically, so that does create challenges for us.
However, in listening to public feedback, the department has come up with these proposed construction improvement projects over the next 5 years that includes high-volume Fremont Avenue from Erie to Independence.
It would provide widening and traffic capacity improvements.
Kansas Avenue from Maplewood to Walnut Lawn.
It would put a sidewalk on one side and a 10-foot wide trail on the other.
High-traffic Campbell Avenue from Westview to Republic.
This would provide for an additional southbound lane.
And Scenic Avenue from Olive to Sunshine.
This project will take care of stormwater needs, and it would open up the ability to install a sidewalk that we've been unable to provide for years, even though it's been requested.
Like the Grant Avenue improvement that's one of the Public Works Department's current projects, these proposed projects wanted by the public will next be submitted as a City Council bill in June for consideration and approval before they become reality. Reporting for KY3, I'm Joe Hickman.
The community